What up, people? My do-it-yourself overflow video was probably one of my most viewed videos out there for sure. I get a lot of positive feedback on it. And when I made it, I didn't really completely understand everything about it. I just knew what to do, but I didn't completely understand it. And now I feel like I wrapped my head around it 100%. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I feel like I can explain it in much better terms and words than I did before, and show you how to make this almost the best it can be, the best I feel like I can make it be. So here's the do-it-yourself overflow revisited. So basically, instead of the hard tubing I used in the first video. Hey Stormy Mist, what's going on? This video is going to be a little bit different. Stormy, if you want to handle this for me, I'm probably not going to respond till any of the comments until the video is completely over. So if anyone keeps asking me stuff and they think I'm ignoring them, if you want to handle that for me, and just let them know that I'm really not paying attention to comments, because I don't want to get sidetracked the way I normally do during this one, because I want to make it awesome. Hey Cruz, what's up? And I want to make it informational and really stick to the point on this one. So I'm going to try not to get sidetracked. Thank you very much, Stormy. Really appreciate you can do that for me. I will try to get back to all the comments after, but here we go. Let's get into this build. I have revisited it. I have thought about it. I've made like 40 of these now. I understand everything that's going on behind it, and I feel like I know how to get the most efficient flow out of it now with the cheapest amount of parts. So let's just dive right into it. First, you're going to need something to cut PVC with. Doesn't have to be this type of scissor cutter. It could be a hacksaw. It could be a normal saw. It could be a scroll saw. It could be a jigsaw. What's up, Tracy? It could be anything. So we're going to need the PVC cutters, a drill with a drill bit that's slightly smaller or about the size of the tube here. And the reason for that will come into play later. Now that I'm putting the tube against this, I'm noticing that this might be a hair too large for what I'm looking for, but it's actually fine because I can stretch the tube and make it wider, which is actually probably what I'm gonna do. I'd rather do that than switch to a smaller diameter, because this will make the flow better. The bigger the better as far as flow goes. And while we're talking about the bigger the better as far as flow goes, the same goes for the size of PVC you use. I only use overflows for slow moving, very slow drip systems, and if it's not dripping, it's only moving through an airline not nearly as thick as this, like your normal airline. Here we go, got some laying right here. So your normal airline is thinner than what I'm using here. I wish I remembered the diameter of this. I don't, and I don't know the diameters of these, and it's not written on here, but this is the stuff I use. It's basically the smallest stuff you can get. I think it's a 1/4 inch PVC, and then this, let's see, this says a 1/4 inch on here. Can't see it, sorry. But so that's all you're gonna need. Whatever PVC, the bigger you use, the faster the flow is gonna be, but not necessarily. It all depends on gravity as well, and we will get into that once the build is more complete. Stormy, I'm gonna rely on you to remind me once we get into the section where I pull this thingy out. Remind me to talk about how gravity is important as well as diameter. So basically you need a PVC cutter. Like I said, it could be anything that'll cut PVC. It doesn't have to be these guys. You're going to need a drill and a drill bit, a pair of scissors, PVC, any diameter of your choice. The bigger the better, but the bigger is also an eyesore. So I won't make you take notes, I'm sorry. It doesn't have to be Stormy. Anyone who's listening, chime in. I just know Stormy's usually pretty reliable, so that's why I threw you out there, and you're normally here for pretty much the whole stream. But if you're not, don't worry about it. So anyway, I see, this is why I'm responding to the comments and I get sidetracked. I'm going to stop doing that. I wish I could just take them off my screen so I don't see them, but I don't think that's possible. But anyway, the basic construction of this is pretty easy. So basically what we're going to do here is I'm going to make a build that makes an overflow as if this was a tank. Okay, so I'm going to need it. As far as the overflow goes, the inside can be as short or as tall as you'd like it to be, as long as when this pipe, this tube in the end, is going to end up going down into here in the build at some point. So as long as this tube goes down into the tank and the water level stays above the end of this clear tube here, we're never going to lose prime. And by losing prime, I mean we don't want air to get into this clear tube. If air gets into this clear tube, that's bad news. So we want to go as deep as we can without becoming too much of an eyesore. So you can make this really small. You could probably make it that much if you went all the way to the top, if you wanted to. However, the shorter you make the inside, the tube that's inside the tank, the shorter you make that tube, the more of a chance you have of getting air into this tube, which is called losing your prime. For those of you who don't know what a do-it-yourself overflow looks like, I could throw this together pretty quick with cutting one piece of this PVC a little shorter, just to throw it together real quick. And I feel like for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, that will help tremendously in my explanation. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So what I'm doing is these elbows, you can buy these elbows and they're cheaper. You can also buy this elbow in something called a street elbow, which they'll fit together perfectly and you don't need to do this step with this extra PVC. However, the street elbow costs a little bit more, and I'm trying to do this the cheapest way possible. So the easiest way to get around paying a little bit more for that street elbow is you buy two of these cheap ones and you just cut a little bit of your PVC that you're going to need anyway, and you just stick it in the end there and stick it in the end there, and then you're good to go, and they connect that way rather than needing to pay a little bit more money for the connector. But that goes there, that goes there. The caps are going to go on the end. This clear tube is going to end up going in this top hole. There's holes in the top here that I'm going to drill out more. The reason they're already pre-drilled is, one, I already had them laying around, so I didn't have to go buy new materials for this video. And two, it's much easier to start with a smaller drill bit than the drill bit you're using when drilling into a round surface like PVC. So if you start with a very small, thin drill bit, drill your pilot holes, they're called, and then drill what you actually want after that to the bigger. So I'm going to use these as my pilot holes, and it'll save time and make it easier later. But it makes it easy for the explanation now, because eventually this tube's going to end up going down into these holes. Right? This tube's obviously not cut to the right length, but this tube's going to go into the holes, and if this is your fish tank or your shrimp tank, one tube's going to be on the inside, one tube's going to be on the outside. So what I'm talking about when I say the inside tube is the tube that's on the inside of your tank. And since this goes all the way down to the bottom of that, sorry, there's a glare that I'm trying to avoid. Maybe if I turn this light, yep, okay. Slide that up. But right here, this is going to be at the bottom of this, and might as well cut this now and show you. But if you cut this at an angle, it kind of prevents it from hitting the bottom of that cap and closing itself off. So you want to kind of cut that on like a 45, so then when that goes down to the bottom, it can't really close itself off and seal itself. The water can still get in even if this is flush against the bottom. But the point of this being that the longer this is, the less likely, or the deeper this tube is in the water, the less likely it is that air is going to get into this clear tube. And you don't want air to get into this clear tube, because then your overflow is going to stop working. So I'm going to make this as long as I can, but just so you know, you can make this shorter. Say the water level was right at the top here, just for the sake of argument. You can drill the hole, you can put the tube in here so that you can make the tube that short. Literally, you could make it this short and put the elbow right here if you wanted to. If the water level was here, as long as this clear tube stayed below the water level and would never drop below. But the problem with that is evaporation. So the shorter you make this tube, you really got to stay on top of your stuff, because if it evaporates below the point where the water level is going to drop, it's going to get air in this tube, and then you're done. You're probably going to have a flood at some point. But anyway, I feel like I've rambled about that for long enough. I just wanted to make that very, very clear. But for this project, I'm not going to go the smallest as I possibly can, like I tried to do in the last video. I am going to make it safe, because I feel like that's almost just important as small, even more so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this PVC to pretty much the length I want it. So I'm going to disassemble this. Measure out the tank. Probably only need to cut, yeah, about right there. So keep my thumb and my finger to mark that. Stormy says it's bad connection. Anyone else having that? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut these both the same. Actually, no, I'm going to leave this one. Oh, man. Okay. So now this is where we get into gravity, and I might as well just do this now, even though I have to reassemble this to talk about gravity versus diameter. So earlier I said the bigger diameter, the better, because the more flow, but that isn't necessarily true if gravity isn't on your side. So I went and rambled on about the inside pole for quite a long time. Now let's ramble on about the outside pole. So the pole on the outside, way gravity works, right? So gravity's pulling down on everything at, what is it? Flashback to physics class. Oh man, don't make me call this out so late at night live, but I think like 8.61 meters per second. That could be right, could be wrong. But I know that per second is very important. So don't forget that second per second. It means per second squared, not just per second. But anyway, this outer tube, gravity comes into play, because when you're going to drill your hole where you want the level, like say you want the level of the water to be here and drain here, you're going to drill a hole in the inside pipe right there where you want the water level to be. You're also going to drill a hole in this outside pipe where you want the water to drain to wherever your final resting place for your water is going to be. So you're eventually going to have a tube coming out of this here somewhere, leading to your exit place. And the key with the physics is, since falling in gravity and meter and height and distance come into the mathematics behind this, your input hole and your output hole. So wherever you draw your input, which you can't really change because that's going to be where you're going to want your water level. So that's kind of defined. You can't really just move that around. That's kind of where it is what it is. That's where you want it. However, this outer pole, you can move, you could drill the hole here. But guess what? If I drill it here, there's only this much space between the input and the output. I'm not going to have a very fast output. If I move the pole all the way to the bottom, I'm going to have a super fast output. However, I only have this much water, where if air happens to get in here somehow and get down in here, there's only that much to prevent the air from getting into this tube, which I emphasized is very bad. So you do want to have this clear tube pretty much in at least 2-3 inches of water to be safe. So I wouldn't want to drill the hole up here because it would go too slow. I wouldn't want to drill the hole all the way down here because it wouldn't be safe. So I drill the hole in the happy medium, but I would do it more towards the bottom, which brings me into how long you want this bottom. Yes, we're trying to do the smallest and the cheapest, but if you want it to be a little bit more effective and flow a little bit faster, the longer you make this outside tube, the faster it's going to flow, because there's more distance that you're able to put between the top hole that you drill where you want your water level here and the hole where your exit is. My issue right now with this demonstration and how I'm actually going to use this in practice is the tank is sitting on the same surface as the overflow is going to be sitting on. So these pretty much have to be the same size, because the overflow has to be able to hang on the surface of the tank without protruding past the bottom. So I have to cut both of these shorter at the moment. I'm probably going to make both these tubes the same size for my purposes. But I've already explained you can pick the sizes of the tubes based on your needs. So I'm going to cut these tubes a little smaller right now. And it looked like I needed to cut off about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. That might be a little much, but that's fine. My project isn't really super sensitive about flow or looks, so if I'm a little off, it's not a big deal. Your project may be different. So this is what I'm left with for my tubes. I have this, which is a little bit longer than I like. I'm going to cut a little bit so that's not quite as much as a hangover. All right, and the holes are already drilled. I want to make sure those are on top. You're not going to have those problems unless you did already drill the pilot holes, which I recommend. Oh yeah, that's perfect. And if you really want to, you can silicone this. I've never had them leak. I used to hot glue them. I don't even bother doing that anymore. The PVC just seems to hold. But again, I only use this for very small drip applications or just running water through airline. But now I'm going to put this in here. Put this one here and see if it fits. Seems to hang. Did cut them a little bit shorter than what I would have liked to have cut them. Cut small, you won't have this problem. Measure once, cut twice. But again, I'm not too concerned because this will still work for my needs. So the caps are going to end up going on here eventually. I'm not going to put them on yet because we will get PVC debris in there. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to drill the input hole based on where we want it. So we're going to hang it on here. We're going to be right about there. Let's see. So if this is hanging here, put it right about where the first notch of that A is. So you're probably going to get a taste of what it's like to drill on a round surface without a pilot hole right here. So the notch of that A is right there. Let's see, I'm already slipping off and I didn't even start. Yep, see, it's not easy drilling on a round surface with a big drill bit. We may have to do this like such. Starting with very little pressure to build a little divot. Now I'm starting to push. Wow, is this drill bit dull or what? Jeez. We're at some strong PVC, one of the two. One of the two, that's... And I'm drilling at a weird angle to try to keep it on camera. So that's probably what it is. But no, that's definitely a dulled out drill bit. I'm gonna need some new drill bits. But I made it through. For those of you who have watched my how to build a 20-gallon rack for eight 20 gallons, man, you better use the right saw blade, use the right tools for the job, or you are just killing yourself. Ended up being a little lower than what I liked, but again, this isn't an exact science. So that's gonna fit in there perfect. Our output hole with the caps on here. Oh man, there's not going to be much distance there. I'm going to have to make this output hole longer. See, this is where we have to compromise. I cut this too short and made this too low. So why I think we're going to have a problem here is because even if I try to do this right here, there's only that much space between the input and the output, which is not enough. So pardon me for uno momento. I wish I had some elevator music to put on right now, but I need to go grab another piece of PVC, and that's in my garage, so I will be back in 45 seconds or less. Timey. Stormy, count it out. Coming back, that wasn't even 45 seconds. But this is why I like to do things live, actually, because you see what it's like to actually do things in real life. Most people would do this in a normal non-live video, and they would have cut that out and pretended like it never happened and just redone it. But I do have some leeway to play here. So instead of just guessing like I did the first time, let's actually measure twice and cut once, which is a rule that you should live by. But I obviously did not. Gotta leave a little room for the end cap. That should do it. See, now the end cap was made in America. Okay. Let's see here. Still don't like that that's so low. I'm going to drill another hole. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna. Even though that hole was dreadfully painful. Especially doing live, everyone's like, wow, this guy needs a new drill bit. But as I can see, this one's probably about an inch, half-inch lower, 3/4 of an inch lower than I'd like it to be. So I'm going to do this one much higher. And that's probably due to the slipping around and stuff that I was doing. Because I didn't drill a pilot hole. Because I'm trying to save time on live. So you guys don't got to watch me drilling a hole for 10 minutes. This is a very dull drill bit. I need to go to Home Depot tomorrow. Oh, did you see that? Don't tell my wife. Oh, she's going to kill me. This is why you should also work on your workbench if you have one and not on your bar top where you just happen to have the tripod already set up. I feel like I'm just melting through this, not even drilling. That's literally how dull this drill bit is. That is nuts. And I got to drill some more holes, so give me one more second. I got some more drill bits over 2 seconds from here. This is the fun of doing it live. Do it live. Here we go. this is all I need. This will make my life much easier. I don't know why I didn't just start with this thing. I know I did. I know why, because of the tube. I didn't want to get a little anxious and overzealous with the unibit. But it looks like it's going to have to come down to that, because this thing just does not want to cut. That drill bit was done. Look at that, right through, no problem. Unibits are awesome. Okay, I'm happy with that. Boom. Now we're going to drill this one. Oh, don't kill yourself. Be careful, people. I should set a better example for safety, for sure. Do not drill towards your hands. It's not a good idea. Okay, so this hole, you want to drill to be about slightly smaller than this hole, so that this can fit in there without having to use silicone. Someone, Aquaholic Fish, just get me a super chat. I gotta mention that. I just seen a big blue thing pop across my screen. Sorry for all of you who missed the beginning. I'm ignoring comments because I don't want to get sidetracked, because I'm trying to like stick to the point on this one for once. So I'll once I'm done building this overflow and demonstrate how it works and what it's doing, I'll get back to your comments. But this hole is just slightly too small. So that's where the unibit comes in. But that's the problem with the unibit, because it's so easy to make it too big. And the problem with using this material versus PVC is this material doesn't like hot glue. It doesn't like aquarium sealant. It doesn't like super glue. I have yet to find a material that this glue and PVC both like. So you really have no option but to make this very snug. That's almost there. Yeah, I could squeeze that in there if I really wanted to. So that hole's perfect. This hole you can make as big or small as you want, because that's just going to be your input hole where the water goes in from the tank. Now we'll start talking about these top two holes. So basically all we're doing, sorry I hit the tripod there. All we're doing here is this is really simple. And anyone who's done a water change is going to completely understand this, especially if your tank is on the floor or at a very low level. So basically, when you're doing a water change, you have your tank and you have your bucket that you're draining water into, right? So if you have your, let me cut a piece of water change tube here. So you have your water change tube, right? So you start your siphon. You know, you do your thing where you suck on this end and you get a mouthful of water and you spit it out and you're like, bleh. But water's flowing. And why is water flowing? Because the water level here is higher than the output of this. And you're draining into the bucket and the bucket's lower. So that works. However, if you slowly lift up the bucket, the flow slows down slowly slows down until you get up to where the water level is, and then it stops. If you bring it above the water level reverses. So the whole point of the overflow is to play that exact same role as that siphon, but instead of stopping and reversing, or when the water level drops, just keep siphoning everywhere. It will stop at the water level that you want it to stop at. When that water level goes up, it'll automatically start again. That's the difference between a siphon and an overflow. So basically all we're doing is this bucket that you're using for your water change, we're creating a bucket inside the tank and a bucket outside of the tank, and we're connecting them with a water change hose. So let me explain again. We're creating a bucket inside the tank. Now imagine the cat. Well, no, here we don't have to imagine. I'll just put these on. It takes 2 seconds. Okay, so we have a bucket inside of the tank. We have a bucket outside of the tank. All we need to do is connect the buckets with a water change hose, right? And now the water level will be wherever we set it at. The siphon hose that connects the two buckets will keep the water level from here exactly even with the water level in this tube. So the water won't flow through this top PVC. That's literally just to hold it on the tank and hold it in place. The water flows through this pipe. The water level in this tube will never get higher than this hole, and the water level in this tube will never get higher than that. The water in this, let me say it again, both of these tubes, either one, doesn't matter. Both of these tubes, the water level will never get higher than that hole. Just because of the way gravity works. It's going to force water one way or the other. And when you add a drain hole over here, now water is going to constantly be draining out of here. So water is going to want to get sucked through here because the water level in your drain bucket is going to be lower than your tank level, which makes the siphon kick in. And that's the whole physics and how this thing actually works. So let's get it together. What I like to do to measure the size of how long you need to do this thing is just take the caps off of here now. Leave one end, and this is how you don't waste materials. Just leave one end poking out a little bit there. Pull that other end all the way through till you're about, right there looks good. And you're going to want to cut this one at a little bit of an angle, just like we did the other one on a 45. So we got a nice 45. Left with something that looks a little bit like that. Right? So now what we're going to do, oh man, we got to prime this thing. And that's the hardest part. A lot of people use check valves. I don't like check valves because I found them, that's most likely the point of failure. Oh wait, we're not there yet. We need to take the piece that we cut and measured and make sure that it fits in here but still allows air in here. Which the hole, see how this hole is much bigger? It's not real tight like this hole that we drilled, how I emphasized that this hole had to be tight so no, it can't leak. You want the exact opposite with these two top holes. You want air to get in up here because, as I said, you don't want water flowing through this piece. These elbows are literally just there as support to hold the overflow on the tank. The water flows through here. So this is where you let air in and it doesn't create a vacuum while this is siphoning. It won't create a vacuum over here or over here because this is where air gets into the system. On those big loop around systems, if you notice on the design, there's always a pipe on the output hole. The pipe goes up above the water level to let air into the system. That's basically, this provides the same purpose. So you need to make sure this hole is big enough to let air in, and it does. So now we're pretty much good now that we did that. So now comes the priming. Like I said, some people would cut this hose and put a check valve in here and just put the both ends in the water, suck through the check valve to prime it. I've noticed when in my check valves that they fail. Like the ones that I just prime myself in the way that I'm about to show you, like never unprime. The ones that with check valves, I'll notice them slowly filling with air and I'll have to suck on them again. So to me, why spend the money on a $2 part if it's just a little bit harder to set up without it, but then it lasts longer. But again, you might see what I mean in a minute. But first of all, I'm going to get this piece in here as the next part of the build. This piece, I'm not sure how I want to prime it yet, if I want to prime it separately or prime it in here. I think I'm going to prime it in here, but if I prime it in here, I may need a bigger container of water. I think I do. So if I prime it in here, which I want to do, I'm going to need to go grab a bigger container of water, which may take some time for a second. But first of all, I don't know. Let's get this piece in here. So if you put this piece in here, and this This side doesn't really matter at the moment. The outside, the part we're draining from, you want the hose in here while you're building it so you know how far to push this piece in. And this piece, on the contrary, you do not want on a 45. You want this pretty flat, but not necessarily completely flat. But if a 45 is a little too much, so I kind of do something where I just kind of mess it up a little bit, just enough where it won't clog stuff. And then I'm going to jam it in there, and you'll see why I do that after I get it in. This is pretty much the perfect size hole where it's going to take a lot of effort, a little bit of bending to get it in. Once you get it in, you're golden. Like that's not coming out. But the reason you want to kind of, if you can see in that tube there, this tube rests right against this tube. So if it was flat, it could almost cut off the water, and you don't want that to happen. So that's why you want this tube in while you're doing this one. We're almost done, people. All right, so I'm going to put the end cap on. End caps are on. I'll turn that so that's easier for you to see when we actually do some water. End caps are on. You want to make sure these are all the way down, flush with the bottom of the caps. And here we go. We're going to try to prime it. Like I said, this is the hard part. This is not fun. And I think I'm going to need a taller container, probably actually even a bucket. So give me a second. Actually, bucket I gotta crawl and find, so we're gonna try to prime it without the bucket. See if we can do this, even though it's gonna be even harder. But you guys can laugh at me when I keep failing. So the object is I'm trying to fill this tube with water without any air. And the way you would normally do something like that is you would just put the whole tube underwater and let it fill up. And now it's full. And you want to clog both of these ends and then move it to wherever you need it to be. And then flip it over without either of the ends exposed. The problem is the ends are going to be in here, so I can't hold them so the water doesn't get out. So I kind of almost have to build this whole thing underwater. So I got to let water into here. I got to almost suck on this to make sure this whole thing's full of water. Now everything is completely full of water. Now I got to try to assemble it without lifting the tops of these holes out of the water and without lifting the other side of the holes out of the water. So this hole can't come out of the water. And this hole technically shouldn't be either. This is very hard with the assembly I got going on here. So let's see. Or maybe I could, as long as I keep this tube underwater, I could slowly push the other one down. Yeah, that should work. So now the new idea I just had is as long as this clear tube stays underwater, I could lift this tube up, put it in, and then push that down. And then water should flood the PVC either way. So it doesn't matter if it was full or not. The problem is pushing it down without doing that. I just spilled water everywhere, which is what I was trying to avoid doing. So like I said, you see this is kind of the hard part. But I feel like they're both in there. And now I gotta clog this hole. I'm gonna put this in here and try to flip it without oh man, I gotta do this like left-handed and stuff. This needs to go. Just want to figure out my plan of action here before I do it. I'm gonna flip, keep this end in and flip that end out. How am I gonna do that? Yeah, this container is too small. See, I lost my prime. Nothing, no water in there. No water in there. So I'm gonna have to, normally the way I would do it is just assemble this in a 5-gallon bucket, which I'm gonna do right now. So here we go. Here, bucket, 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 bucket. Here, bucket. Here, bucket, 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 bucket. I'm back. Alright, I didn't use a bucket, but I found something that I thought might be clear so you could see what's going on. Okay, so basically all we need to do is assemble this thing underwater. It doesn't matter what happens after it's assembled underwater. All that matters is that it is assembled underwater. So that's going in, right? So that's completely underwater, no air. Here's the tube. That's going in. Completely underwater. No air. So now once this tube, clear tube is filled, you could flip it upside down. See how it's still filled with water? Well, it's hard to see because it's clear, but it's still filled with water. Now you could grab the overflow while this is still underwater, put it in that hole all the way to the bottom. Do the same thing with the other side, all the way to the bottom. Now, according to my calculations as a physics PhD, not really, but I should be able to just pull the overflow out and have it stay primed. See, there's still water in here. So no matter what I do, even though it's out of the water and it's not even in any water, as long as I keep it upright, there's still water in this bucket, water in this bucket, and no air in the connecting hoses, so it doesn't matter. So now we can take our fish tank, move our overflow into the fish tank. I'm going to need to elevate our fish tank so that we have some exit. What can I use to elevate us? Well, actually, it should just drain. So as soon as I move this whole hose, it might be hard, but as soon as I just put this hose down in, no, there's not enough room again. Not enough room again without elevation. I'm gonna have to move the camera, so bear with me, but we'll do this. I just grabbed my huge coil of airline tubing. I'm gonna take the overflow out. This shows how much you can mess with it once it's primed. It's pretty good. And then I'm gonna put our fish tank up here. Don't mind the mess in the background of all the toys and stuff. But this should get the point across of it draining and whatnot. If I did indeed keep prime, it's hard to tell with that clear tube. Maybe I didn't. It feels light. I think I lost it. I think I lost prime because I messed around too much. I'll turn that the right way so you can see it. There's an easy way to find out. If I pour more water in here and it doesn't go anywhere down that hole, then we didn't lose. Then we definitely lost prime. Not going nowhere. We lost prime. So give me a minute to do that at a proper angle, more easily. See, problems of doing it live. Do it live. But I did mess around with that quite a bit after. And tilt it around in ways that it probably shouldn't have been tilted. But it's not meant to be played with. Oh, and also... Oh, okay. I know exactly what happened. I just felt it click. While I was doing that, you know how this exit tube where it drains out of was very close to the inner tube? When I pushed it back in underwater, it didn't push past it, and it was above it, so that caused it to fail. But now we got this. I should be able to put it on here, have it drain. I don't know if you could hear it. You could hear it drain in the water. You could see it sucking up some air with the water there. And I think it failed. The problem of doing things live. Okay, so it sucked up so much air that it actually lost prime when it stopped. The flow was too much. So what I normally do to stop that, which is fine for me because I have shrimp and I need to do this anyway, is I grab a piece of foam, which I'll be right back. Hopefully this will work. So apparently the problem here is the hole's too big, and I'm assuming because the hole's wider than the diameter of this tube, it allowed too much flow to happen and too much air to get in here. However, the flow must have been so strong enough that it was able to suck air into this hole and fight gravity where the air got sucked all the way down this and into this tube. So the problem is this tube is probably too fat for this PVC, where this PVC isn't wide enough and it can't hold enough water to keep up with the airflow. But hopefully the sponge might help slow the flow a little bit. And I normally put one of these on here anyway so it doesn't suck up little shrimp babies. But now I'm going to have to reprime it because it got air in it. It's fun doing things live, right? You see? Most people would be editing this video out, maybe not even uploading it, right? Can't go back now. Can't go back now. So I'm going to move the overflow back in here. Oh yeah, it definitely moved way too fast. That output was way too fast. Because it totally sucked air up right away before I even got it. Like before I even got it in the water. Or maybe it was because the exit hole was already filled with water. Who knows? But I think I may have went too big. I guarantee if I replace this top hose with your normal everyday airline hose, that's an easy solution to really slow it down. Oh, I didn't put what happened to the foam? That'd be an easy solution to fix it, but I didn't want to have to do that because that'll slow down the flow a lot. I was trying to avoid that, but it can be done. I'll show you exactly what I mean. So what I'm doing, I found that the problem with that is the flow was too high for the size of the PVC, meaning the clear hose on the inside is too wide for the PVC on the outside. And this is why this is an experiment. But here we go. We'll cut these at an angle. We'll prime it with the airline. And we will have a working prototype. If not, you know what I mean? I don't know. I give up. Thought I perfected this thing, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I have faith. You guys have faith? We'll see. Can't wait to read the comments. Everyone laughing, making jokes. It's gonna be great. I'm a good guy though. I like I'll take that stuff with a grain of salt. I enjoy reading that stuff. Because like I said, most people wouldn't make a video like this and just do it live because of the probability of it going wrong. I think we got some prime going on here. Let's see what we got. Let's move it over. On the fish tank. Are we gonna drain? Are we gonna drain without losing prime? We got some drainage going. I don't see any air in the top here. Did it suck up air? Did it? No. But still draining. It did suck up some air. So apparently this input tube is still too small. It wants to go. It really does. It's almost there. So there's no water in that tube at all. Maybe I didn't leave enough space here. What do you think? We're gonna have to do another smallest, cheapest do-it-yourself overflow, I think. Unless I could fix this real quick. But I don't know what the odds of that are gonna be. We're gonna... Alright, one more time. Let's try to fix this real quick. Do I have more PVC? I gotta find another piece of PVC so we can fix this. We're live. Let's do it. I got it. I have no choice. I gotta fix this. It's funny, as I was getting this new piece of PVC, I was thinking I wanted this build to be safer, which is what I was going for, but then having this one so low, I was going for flow, not safety, and that's what killed me. So we want to be safe, we're going to put a long one on. That'll make us safe. So all I got to do is re-drill this hole for the exit hole, make sure it's not nearly as low as that one. So what I'm doing here is I'm replacing this side because I think this is not enough space. Air's getting down in there. We'll see if my theory hypothesis is correct based on this change I'm making now with this longer pipe. Perfect. How did that happen? I did not think that was going to happen. Oh, don't tell me. Look at that. Oh, different size PVC. Oh, man. No luck today. It's like Jeopardy. I'll be right back up and down these stairs. I'm back. My dog keeps following me around like, what are you doing? Out to the garage, back in. Out to the garage, back in. What are we doing? So let's see if that works. Where's that? Output. A little bigger. Knew I couldn't get that lucky twice. Okay. Sorry, now I'm just trying to measure the airline that I'm going to need. I hope this is good. Random blind cut. Since this tube was longer, I needed longer airline now. Alright, so I'm going to prime it. And we're going to do what we got to do. And I'm even going to take the foam out. I don't think we're going to need it with this longer tube and the smaller diameter connector. It's going to be a slower flow rate, but it'll be safer. And it might actually work, maybe. That'd be the important thing. Really hope I'm not just sitting here wasting all y'all's time. That would not be cool. Alright, let's prime this baby. And again, this would be easier with a check valve. It wouldn't be all this priming and testing, but again, in my experience, once I get it primed and it works, it stays working. In my opinion, I'd rather put a little bit more time in the setup and have it stay working than have to keep messing with it all the time. Man, the exit hole tube just came out. I'm sorry, you guys are just staring at nothing while I'm trying to do this, but I'm having some off-camera problems. Alright, bringing it over primed. Let's see what we got here. Oh, it's starting to drain on me. See what happens. We got some drainage. Let's see if it sucks air up once it gets down to the water level we need to be at. So we're still draining here. You guys see? Oh, wrong side, flip the camera. So as we're leveling out to temperature level here, you can see the tube keep. So what happens in here, that's the bucket draining, refilling, draining, refilling. But again, as it finished, we got some air up here. So apparently this huge exit and this whole video, I mean, I did this before. I don't know what's happening here. Something is different. I don't know what. But yeah, this is, I don't know why it's sucking air into the tube. See how there's air getting in here? Normally that wasn't happening. I think it's because I think it's because of this bigger output hole. It's not your normal airline tube. The output is more than what this tube can handle. So looks like I'm gonna have to do a cheapest whatever overflow revisited again, because I think this line might actually need to be smaller than this line. This might need to be reversed. So earlier in this particular live stream, when I took this piece out and replaced it with this piece, that was probably a mistake. I should have actually taken this piece out and replaced it with an airline tube, and that may have helped, because that would have slowed the output flow more than slowing the flow up here. now that I think about it. But we've been doing this for an hour now. I need to go. I love you guys. I don't know, before we go, I'll give you a quick rundown on my shrimp, just so you guys don't feel like I completely wasted your time. I'm super sorry that it didn't work out. I really thought I was trying to do something productive there and help everyone out, but looks like I'm gonna have to revisit it again. This is the PRL tank. Most of them are on the other side right now because I had an algae wafer in there. They're all eaten. We'll take a trip into the shrimp room. So the Sulawesi Cardinals, there's babies everywhere in this tank. I got a couple blue ghost cardinal babies. Never gonna see them. You're not gonna see any of the babies. We're lucky we even get to see an adult. But I'm loving the algae on this tank. Lots of algae buildup, which is fantastic. I have some red tigers in here that I recently got from Jeff Lidberg. Planning on putting a video out on these soon. They're just juvies. Can't really see the red as much as I'd like at the moment, but again, they're just juvies. This tank's set up for some more Caridina coming. This one's in the process of getting set up for more Caridina. Over here we have some orange Rili. This tank has some blue Delta Guppy and a bunch of Java moss. This is my red Rilis that's left after I did all the auctions. This tank's pretty bare now. Down here we have my experiment tiger tank, which has some Galaxy tigers and some Tybee tigers. I assume they're Tybee tigers that I got from the local fish store. I don't know what they are. That's why this is an experiment tank, and see what it produces. There's one right there. They got a lot of white on them. If it'll focus, it won't. It's hard to see on the pool sand. And of course there's none within view up front. In here I have some Santas. These are from Vin. I bought them from bipetshrimp.com from Eric Lucas, but they were bred by Vin. Some great shrimp. I just got them in today, actually. So there'll be an unboxing video of this to come. Over here we have my royal blue tigers, and I don't have that many, so I can't cull them out. Over here we have what I'm calling, flip the camera. Over here what I'm calling my blue rose. They're my culls from my black rose tank that are blue. And down here I have my brown rose. And these are my culls from my black rose that are brown. And as you can see, there's lots of babies in here. Even though that's a blue one, I gotta get these lines sorted out, but I didn't know what to do with all the black rose culls. But there's tons of babies, so eventually I'll get these looking like chocolates and these looking like blue diamonds. But we'll see how long that takes. This is my red dragon guppy tank, along with just my Skittles neons, or Neos. Bloody Mary. Just got these a couple weeks ago. Waiting for them to berry up and start breeding. And here I have my sapphire shrimp, my blue diamonds, black diamonds. My pumpkin shrimp. These guys, I just sold a bunch of these at auction too. But as you can see, there's babies all over the glass. And they're breeding like crazy in this tank. Lots of babies everywhere. Here I have what's left of my cherries after all my auctions. I have an auction going on right now on USA freshwater shrimp and plants auction group, pretty much selling, I think it's a group of 15, and they're coming out of this tank, and there's, as you can see, there's pretty much only 15 left. So you're almost going to be getting these exact shrimp, pretty much. So check out that auction. As you can see, they're pretty, they're not the highest quality. If there's any close here. I mean, they're no painted fires, but they're definitely pretty red. Definitely good looking shrimp. Blue Rose is a cool name, right? Why not Black Rose, Blue Rose? You know, at least people know where I'm coming from. I'm not just pulling it out of nowhere. These are the Black Rose. These came from Flip Aquatics. There's probably about 15 of them in here, but they're black, so they blend in very well with that filter back there. But they have a gorgeous shine. They're unbelievably great. I love these guys. Other than the fact of the Black Rose not breeding true, but that's just how their line is. This is going to be my higher grade cherry tank. Pure red. Almost, I'm going to try to get these into fires. I started with some awesome lineage that I actually picked up at the local fish store. I was super lucky, and the guy at the store knows how picky I am, so he let me net my own. But these are kind of nice. Wish I had a better camera, because that looks fuzzy when I zoom in for sure. Orange Eye Red Ghosts. Got these from Andrew Wayne. These are very pretty shrimp too. I also haven't had these for super long, and I got them when they were very small little juveniles, so they're just starting to get big enough to start breeding. Here I have my wood saturation / extra plants tank. Yellow King Kong. You alright, girly? My doggy just coughed, if you're wondering what that was. My Yellow King Kong are breeding like crazy too. There's always varied females in the tunnel. As you can see, there's one in there now. There's a baby over there in the moss on the gray behind the filter. A bunch of babies in this tank. This is my Pinto tank. So you have a black and red zebra Pintos over there. Another zebra. Black spot up front. Another black spot there. A couple more black spots up on the moss. There's a red spot on the filter there. Sorry, am I moving way too fast? I notice when I go back and I watch my live streams, I move the camera way too fast and you can't really see the shrimp. Here's my bruiser tank, blue bolts and shadow pandas. That little girl right there came from Robert Jackson. And then a lot of these other shadow pandas came from Aquarium Creation. There's some babies in here. The blue bolts are being born. Some normal grade. Why does that keep happening? Okay, here here we have blue bees. These are Caridina. I love these. Been wanting them for years. I finally got them. That's the only one that's out. These can be kind of brown as well as blue. That's more of a browner one, but there's a couple really nice blue ones in here too. But they change depending on the water and food and stuff. And I think even like mood. I've noticed sometimes they're like, I look and all I see is brown ones, and then other times I look and all I see is blue ones. So I don't know what's up with that. Here's another pure red line tank that I'm trying to start with nothing but the higher grade patterns. So got some nice PRL in there too. And there's just little tiny babies swimming around right there. So there's already little tiny babies in this tank. Here we have my Extreme King Kong and 1 bar King Kong. There's an Extreme right up front there for us. Silver Eye Extreme. That's awesome. Yeah, Silver Eye Black King Kong Extreme right there. Then all the rest are single bars. That does it for that rack. Moving on. Up here's the other side of the pure red line, my main colony. These are the ones I'm auctioning off and selling. But they're just, because as you can see, they're just everywhere in this tank, and it's still full of buried mamas. Here we have another pure red line tank that I started from more buried mamas from that tank. And these guys are also breeding with lots of babies. They're too small right now. And then down here we have my white ghost piece. I love these guys. Can't wait for them to start breeding for me. These guys got saddled up and a couple of them were buried when I had way too much Java moss in this tank. And I think when I fed them, the food just went bad because there's way too much moss in the tank. And they just couldn't find it. So I removed a ton of the moss out of here. These are fantastic. I love these. And I think that does it, guys. I think that's the whole shebang. That's the whole shebang. Let me go back to the bar, take a sip of my soda, and answer some questions. Hour and 12 minutes, damn. But guys, come on, Dex. You guys, I hope you guys don't feel like I wasted your time with that overflow, because it didn't work. But I feel like it was a learning experience, and it was still educational into how this works. But we need to make the output lower. If you have comments, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of them. But if you have constructive criticism, please let me know. If you're just going to insult me, don't bother. Thank you. Hold on here. Let me take a sip. And then let me go back to my desk over here while I scroll through and answer some questions. Yeah, sorry, the stream keeps dying because Wi-Fi doesn't like water. Wi-Fi does not travel through water very good. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but there's kind of a lot of water in my office. So, and where I sit is kind of every angle. You know what I mean? Let me do a slow turn here. What are these? You know what I mean? I'm slightly surrounded by water a little bit, so that might have something to do with the Wi-Fi issues. But anyway, let me sit down here, scroll for a minute, see what we got. All the way back, all the way back. Wow. Hit that like button. Thank you very much, Tracy Lee. V-Stag, what's up? Love you, my man. It's been a while since I've talked to you. We need to talk a little bit more often, my man. Alcoholic Fish, thank you so much. You gave me that super chat. Still scrolling. Yep, the drill bit fund. Thank you. I didn't get a chance to see that, but now that's really funny. Now that I see the message on that super chat. Thank you. Take a chisel and sharpen the drill bit. Don't throw it away. That's a very good tip. I'm not a tool guy, if you haven't guessed. I love tools. I just really don't know how to use them. I try my best. Can I have a shout out? Dutcher Elijah. There's your shout out, buddy. Sorry it's a little late, but better than late than never. Dutcher Elijah. Um, check him out. I'm not sure if he has a YouTube channel, he or she, but check it out. If they do, go check it out. Thanks, Stormy, for asking him not to ask for shout outs, but really, I don't mind if people do. So, you know, until it starts to be like every other comment asking for a shout out, that's cool with me. But thanks for looking out. That's awesome. Hi, my first stream on this channel. Thank you. Welcome, Jenna Tucker Aquariums. I'm super happy you're here. I regret that this live stream, the experiment was unsuccessful for your first experience to my stream. But I normally don't do live do-it-yourself videos. I normally edit it. I love the pants. Oh, someone saw my pants? Oh, that's okay. In case we don't know, this is, yeah. This is what I wear. I work from home, right here, where we're sitting right now. Don't mind that beer can. This is where I work, and this is what I wear: slippers and pajama pants and hoodie, and that's my daily apparel. And I really don't even like putting jeans on. If I have to put jeans on, it means I'm doing something important. Sorry, I'm just reading it. Yep, we're live. Someone didn't know if we were live or not. Yep, there was some talk about my failure, which is totally fine, understandable. But there was also a lot of comments about they have faith in me, so that's awesome. I love your support, guy. Yeah, today's not my day. I didn't get it to work, but I still feel like I know what's wrong. I just been streaming for an hour and a half, and it's getting kind of late, and I have to work tomorrow, and so I don't have time to keep tackling it today. But there will be a cheapest and smallest revisited again. Although someone always has that random camera flip. The random camera flip happens when I lose stream, and I think if I hit that restart app and resume quick enough, you guys don't even know. I could be wrong, but sometimes it takes a little longer. Do you buffer your orange eye blue tigers? I don't at the moment, but I do plan. I buffer my red tigers, and I plan on slowly moving all my tigers over to buffered. But right now, literally as I was about to make the change and like say yes, I'm definitely without a doubt gonna buffer these guys. There started to be a lot of babies everywhere. Where are they all? They're always up front too. It always, you know, my luck on live streams. One of my pretty females is up front though. There's 2 or 3 of them that look very nice like that, and I think there's like 4 or 5 of the babies that look real nice like that. Up, low battery warning. But look at these Santas. These are great. Keep going, keep going. I think I almost got to the often. How often do you feed canned green beans? I never feed canned green beans. I never feed real food. I feed leaves and this stuff called shrimp baby and pollen and spirulina powder and this magic powder stuff and RREA and some algae wafers. But I avoid pellet foods lately. 1, because it causes strip aggression. 2, I was just talking to someone about this earlier. Like this cheeseburger, I've stopped feeding because I rip off a little piece and drop it in the tank, and then I'd notice a death. And I'd be like, what the hell? It can't be the food. And then, you know, I would do it again. And it is the food, but it's not the food. It's the food because then I took 1 pellet of this and I crushed it up, like the amount that I thought would be a good amount to feed my fish or my shrimp, you know. And then I took the same amount of how much powder, spirulina, and pollen, and put it in a little pile and be like, that's how much I would feed my shrimp. Then I took 1 of the pellets and I broke off a little piece of it and I said, that's how much I'd feed my shrimp. Then I crushed that pellet, and I think I'm going to do a video on this. I crushed that pellet into a powder, and there was like 6 times as much powder as there was in the other pile. So like when I thought that little pellet really is deceiving into how much food you're actually putting in your tank when you're feeding pellets. Also, it stays in one spot, and when you have babies in your tank, they don't like to move around for like the first week. It seems they kind of chill in like the same 2 square inches. So while they're just doing that, like if you throw a pellet in, all the adults are going to rush it. The baby's got to fight to get to it to begin with. Alright, that last cutout, it cut. I'm back, but I came back just to say I'm out. Alright, love you guys. I really appreciate you sticking around. Really appreciate you saying that I didn't waste your time, even though, and it was education, you and a lot of you supporting me, you know, even though this experiment wasn't quite successful. But education is still, you know, we didn't walk out with nothing. We learned something, and that's something. So, love you guys. Keep on experimenting. Keep on tinkering. Keep on doing it yourself. And, you know, take everything with a grain of salt. Just because it didn't work today doesn't mean I'm not going to figure it out and it's not going to work tomorrow. Love you guys. Keep improving yourselves.